Last time on Fired Figments Pottery.
I'm going to try and throw 200 to 300 fairy pots in one day. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see if I make that goal. So we'll get to that answer in a minute, but first I want to talk about the format of this video. I said that I really wanted to do a more vlog style day in the life studio video, but it is so hard for me to find motivation to film while I'm in the studio. I mean, I chose to be an independent artist and work by myself because I don't want to be perceived while I'm working. Plus, setting up a camera, feeling like I look cute, that all slows down my making process when I really have to focus on efficiency in the studio. It's also hard to remember to film because usually when I come in the studio, I immediately start playing a podcast to keep me focused, or I might set up a playlist of YouTube videos, maybe like you're doing right now while working. One of my favorite kind to watch are people building in The Sims, making houses, community lots, whatever. But they do this style where they will have a time lapse of the build going on while they're a little window in the corner talking to you. So I decided to kind of copy that format for today's video. I did make sure that I at least recorded this process of me painting Rainbow Mindfulness Mugs. Hopefully this is a really good video for you to watch while you're doing your own work, so you can just listen to me talk and look up every once in a while to see what I'm doing with my mugs. Another reason I wanted to do this style video is because my January recap and my 2024 goals video both took a lot of hours to edit. Not only did I have to cut all my hemming and hawing, but I also wanted to make sure that I put interesting visuals up. I tried some camera angle things, so I put a lot of work into those. Right now, I am already in the midst of needing to focus a lot on production. So I'm hoping this style video will be a little quicker for me to edit this month, and some of my future month episodes will be more of that vlog style. March is a new month. Let's see if I get better at recording day to day. So let's get to the burning question at hand. Did I throw 200 to 300 fairy pots in one day? Well, the answer is no, and I think it's a great example of why planning your time realistically is so important. When I just casually think about fairy pots, I think about how they're tiny, I throw them off the hump, so they should go fairly quickly. Busting through 200 doesn't seem that hard, but then when you apply it to actual time, you can really see how it adds up. Even if I was throwing these fairy pots at a rate of 1 pot per minute, 300 fairy pots would take 5 hours. For the sake of my mind and my body, I don't want to be throwing for 5 hours, especially fairy pots, because they can get pretty just daunting and repetitive over time. What I did do in reality is throw about 65 fairy pots in 2.5 hours. So I was throwing at a rate of 1 fairy pot for every 2.3 minutes. At that rate, it would have actually taken me 11.5 hours to do 300 fairy pots. So I'm definitely not getting that done in one day. I did do another session of about 30 fairy pots another day in February, which is a perfect amount because I use these egg carton containers to sort my fairy pots, and 30 is the exact number they can fit. I also threw a good amount of fairy pots because I was able to fill in all the kiln loads that I did during February with fairy pots, so they stayed efficient. And I'm just going to try and make sure that I have a batch of fairy pots ready for every kiln load that I do in the future. Do you see how doing this math can help future goals be more realistic? Because I can start having a better idea of how long a task actually takes. This is why on my big goals calendar, I'm counting down the weeks until the Renaissance Fair to keep me on track. If someone told you that you had 5 minutes to get ready or you had 300 seconds to get ready, which feels faster? 300 seconds seems pretty short, right? But it's actually exactly the same as 5 minutes. Similarly, if I told myself that I had 5 months to get ready for the Ren Fair instead of 20 weeks, I would feel like 5 months is so long. But when I think about how fast a week can fly by, 20 weeks feels like nothing. If you're someone who procrastinates a lot or needs a deadline to get motivated, having the amount of weeks left until a show somewhere visible to you can help a lot. You should also calculate the value of product that you need to be making to keep up with the goal of inventory that you have for your show. Every week that you don't hit that goal recalculates all the weeks afterwards, making that goal even higher. There are definitely weeks that I don't run a kiln firing, so I'm not necessarily adding inventory to my goal, but it still gives me an idea of how many things I need to be producing in a week to stay on top of things. Right now, I'm looking at about a rate of 50 $50 items that need to be made every week to keep up with my inventory goals for the Renaissance Fair that starts in August. In February, I also applied to some spring shows to get a little bit of an income boost while I'm waiting for that big Renaissance Fair. So I also have to be thinking about inventory for those as well as inventory for online. We are about a week into March now, so I can say that I got into Mayday Underground in Rochester, New York, so you can find me there at the end of April. And I also have a pop-up show coming up at the Gallery in the Valley in Geneseo, New York, and that will be the Saturday of Mother's Day weekend, so that is Saturday, May 11th. So let's talk a little bit about these mindfulness mugs that I'm working on. If you remember, in January, I went on a planned vacation and I wanted to make sure that I had a way to bring income in while I was gone. My solution was to set up a pre-order for this new design of Rainbow Mindfulness Mugs. Once I got back, I threw the mugs and now I am painting them with underglaze so that they can go into their first bisque firing, then they'll get glazed and go in for their second glaze firing. Most of these are now already at their new homes, and right now, as I record this, my kiln is cooling with the second batch of pre-orders. For underglaze, you want to make sure you do at least 2 coats of every color to make sure that the pigment is thick enough to make it through the firing and show its true colors. I did find that for the purple underglaze I use, which is Amico's Violet, I needed to do 3 coats to really bring out more of the blue tones of the purple at a cone 6 firing, because otherwise it kind of burns off and you get much more of a pink toned purple. I've also learned over time that certain underglazes act better under clear glaze than others. Orange and electric blue both seem to kind of like to bubble under at least the clear glaze that I have. So I make sure to mix it with a little bit of white underglaze, which seems to stabilize the colors a little bit more. So according to my timesheet notes, I spent 7 hours painting the underglaze on these Rainbow Mindfulness mugs. I knew it was going to take a long time, which is why I kept putting off starting the painting process. I really wanted to just sit down in a whole day and be able to bust it out. But February had some weird moments for us, and I never really had a good day to just start them. One afternoon, I finally decided that the only thing to do was to get started on them, and I start with the clouds and then go down the rainbow, painting each color, and I was just gonna see how far I could get. So I ended up spending 4 hours on the first day and 3 hours on the second day to get through painting all of them. I think this is a really good example of a productivity tip that I try and remind myself to implement. When I'm stuck trying to decide what I should do next, I always like to think about what sets me up best for tomorrow to stay on track of my goals. The more that I kept delaying painting, the more that it would delay getting them fired and then glazed, and the whole thing just gets pushed down the road. So I needed to just start. Similarly, I had to make this decision again in March. So this story isn't really part of a February recap, but hopefully I still have more things to talk about for March's video. I decided to take a little trip to Rochester this past week. I wanted to see some friends and family, and I had to go pick up my contest prize from Happy Earth Tea for a video that I posted on Instagram. You should definitely check out Happy Earth Tea. They are the only place practically that I drink tea from, and everything that they have is so good. Unfortunately, I wasn't feeling really productive leading up to when I was supposed to have the trip, and so I didn't feel like I could rationalize going on the trip. I've been working on a bunch of new sculptures for March, which you'll get to see in next month's video, so make sure to subscribe. But because I hadn't completed a pottery cycle in a while, it felt like I hadn't really gotten anything done. So here's a little pottery hack. You've heard of girl math, you've heard of boy math, but this is some potter math. Kiln firings can be anywhere from like 6 to 12 or maybe even more hours. And as long as your kiln is firing, that means you're being productive. You don't have to do any other work in a day as long as your kiln is firing. Pottery math. So when making my decision of what to do on my last day before taking my trip, I decided that whatever I needed to do to be able to do a firing while I was gone was the most productive thing that I could be doing. Don't worry, someone else was home while the kiln was firing. I just was going on the trip alone. So by chance, Rainbow Mindfulness Mugs were again what I needed to be working on. I made sure to paint the whole second batch of pre-orders plus some extras, and I got those in the kiln so that on the day that I was leaving, I could have a kiln firing. On the day I was coming back, the kiln would be cooling, and just like that, I was being productive even while I was gone. If I timed this all right, we should be winding down on this time-lapse video. I might be on the blue stripe or the purple stripe. You'll notice that those clips got a little shorter. I was getting very tired by the end, and I did not notice that while I was working on my purple stripe, my whole camera just decided to droop and was recording the floor for most of it. But hopefully at this point you've seen about as much painting as you want to. Once the kiln is done cooling, we'll get to see if all the Rainbow Mindfulness mugs turned out okay, and hopefully I can send off the last of my pre-orders. As long as all the pre-orders are done, that means that I'm going to be done with Rainbow Mindfulness mugs for a while so that I can focus on other work. Now that I have a show at the end of April to look for, I have already checklisted out all the products that I want to make sure I have for that show. It's really exciting because it's going to be my first show back in Rochester since 2019. I'm really excited to be back with some of my hometown customers and people who miss me from the Ren Fair that's more local to there. The Ren Fair I do now in Tuxedo, New York is like a 5.5-hour drive from Rochester, so I totally understand that some people don't come to it. But that's gonna wrap it up for the Rainbow Mindfulness Mug video. I hope that your February was productive, you feel good about where you are. If it wasn't and you don't worry. You know, it's another month, just recalculate your goals. You can revisit my 2024 goal video to see all my tips about making realistic goals. If you want to see the cool new sculptures that I've been working on already, make sure to subscribe so that you get notified when March's video comes out. And if you have any specific questions about my studio practice or things you really want to see in the next video, just let me know in a comment and I will try and work those in. Also, let me know if you liked this format video or if you want to see more of that vlog style that is just so hard for me to make myself do. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!